make an appointment to have sex? Do we?
I don't know what that feels like.
I mean, I'm asking because how do we prevent ourselves from falling into becoming roommates after having kids? Hello, I'm Eliezer Marte.
I am Eric Martinez.
Thank you for watching us, for listening us. This is another episode of
Daddy's on duty.
We've been busy.
We've been busy, and for this segment, I've mentioned this before, but I think, I didn't mention it here just a few minutes ago, but I think it's worth mentioning now.
What is it?
This new season, we're grounding ourselves in truth, theory, and credible sources, and introducing the beautiful
Judith Seed, clinical psychologist Judith Seed. Thank you so much for being here, Judith.
I am so honored
You
to
look
be
so
here.
beautiful.
She does look beautiful.
Thank you.
She's
I did it
gorgeous.
for you and for your audience, and also aligning with the topic of today, right?
Oh my God. And you
Interesting
have
topic.
a lot of experience, professional experience, because you hear this all the time. And how do we manage? And let's talk. How do you feel, Eric?
Well, you know what? Well, before we go, let's get a little bit of your background first, so that we
Okay.
can understand where we're going with
Okay.
this topic. Tell us a little bit about your background and what you do.
Oh my God! I have 15 years serving the Latino community in the areas of mental health, with specialty in couples, actually, right? And so I'm very familiar with the nuances, the struggle, the challenges, but also the blessing, the pluses that we add as Latino families.
Okay, Judy. Now the question. Let's go straight
Wait,
to.
the topic. Wait, let's start, because we said it'll be funny. We put a video. So the other night,
Okay.
we were trying out this new app, right? And the app was to try and interview ourselves. It was just for funs and giggles, and he was trying, and I was the guinea pig. And then, but it turned out to be this very funny, interview on. And I told him, once upon a time I was a hoe. And this is just being funny, but I really wasn't. And I said, and how do you feel? I said, I miss those days because they were filled with, enrichment and good, activities. And then, he goes, well, you're acting like you don't get those days
You acting
anymore.
like you don't get any action.
anymore.
Like
And I
you don't
said,
get-
and so my response was,
That was his response.
Right. Okay.
So
so
then-
it opened up the conversation.
yeah. So it brought out. So it led to this to this conversation today, and it's how do you prevent your relationship from steering into a roommate situation when you have a family, kids, debt, responsibility, everything, because it can be so restraining where you don't even want to see the person, but at least you're there. Like, how do you?
You don't want to see me?
Yes.
No, I don't want to see you happen.
It's a big question. Let's break it down.
Let's break
Yes,
it down.
yes, yes.
First
Please.
of all, it's totally normal. You guys are not alone. You're not the only one. So let's break it down into the stages. So this is a stage in the marriage where we call it collaboration, cooperation. So you guys had the passion state where it was free, wild, spontaneous, all of that, right? And then it came the knowing stage where you guys began to know each other for real and began to accept each other and say, you know what, I could live with this. I could live with that. So because of that, now 10 years after, you are here. And when kids come, this is the cooperation stage. So know that if whatever is going on, it's a stage and it's going to pass. That's the first thing. That's the first relief.
We're gonna get through this.
We're gonna get through this. So how? Okay. So how are we gonna get through this? So number one is that you first started asking, should it be planned? And it sounds odd, but that's precisely the answer.
Really?
Yes.
Wait, hold on.
Yes.
I said,
Number one,
should I book an appointment?
Absolutely. But now, you know what Elia
To my calendar.
said? Yes, you know what Elia said? Just because it's planned, it doesn't mean that it could happen anytime. You could still have it both, a spontaneity and also a little bit of romance planning.
Okay.
Why? Because at least that time for sure, and you get mentally, you guys can make plans for the kids, get a babysitter, maybe not cook, maybe even take a light date at work because it's already planned, because it's not just the body, the mind too, right? Mm-hmm. And so that way, for sure that each one of you are giving each other that time. And because I'm sure that sometimes if you don't plan it, what happens? 1 week goes by, another week goes by. And then when you look at it, it's like a whole month. You know what I mean?
So Judy, wait. So you're telling me, right? let's say I'm in the Bronx.
Yes.
Tomorrow, I know I'm gonna be in the Bronx doing a story, and I'm gonna be Eric. I'm gonna be done by 3 p.m. tomorrow.
Yes.
We're gonna have the nanny at home. I want you to meet me at this little motel that I got in the Bronx, and we're just gonna have an adventure.
Well, I don't know about the Bronx.
That's not
I mean, is that how it works?
that's how it works. And some couples who might not be able to go to a hotel, they could just say, you know what, Wednesday afternoon, that's our night. That way, it might be easier to find somebody to care for the kids instead of the weekend, or maybe make plans. Maybe they go to a after school plan. So that way, it's like, you know, that's the time for deep intimacy. It's not like a quickie right away. You know, it's just really quality intimacy time. And you know what? If it doesn't happen, it's okay, but at least you guys made an effort. And if it does happen, that doesn't mean you can add on throughout the week. But then those could be spontaneous. Like, well, if it happens, we got extra. But if not, at least we have a healthy dose. And that's a healthy, I would say, regimen to keep it going. Because sometimes when there's no intimacy, look, it's like the problems rises. Low intimacy, low sex, however you want to call it.
We'll get upset here.
Right? And then, right,
Yeah,
get
we'll
upset,
get
of course. Then you see that because there's this connection. You guys are not connecting. But what happens?
Well, then when we have it the next morning, everyone's happy.
Right, everything
And
is
it's
like,
whoa.
yeah,
what happened
right.
here?
We're connected. It's like, oh, what kind of coffee do you want? I make you a special coffee kind of thing,
They
right?
make me mangood when it
Right,
happens. You know what I'm saying?
exactly. So you want that. If you miss that throughout the month, then it does feel like swimming, and it feels like it's such a heavy load. Like, is it even worth it? You know, what am I doing here? So you don't want those thoughts lingering around. You want to keep that weekly maintenance.
No, and I think you're right too when you say about connection, right? I have like a 5-10 part series question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
So it all boils down to connection, right? And I think social media and all these things play like a very vital part of this, because I know that a lot of this is perception and it's like a very diluted reality. Like when you hear friends and, you know, talking about it, and when you see it on Instagram and social media, it's not true that couples are that intimate like 2-3 times a week.
Especially when
It's
you have
impossible
a 50-month-old
when you
baby.
have so many things to balance and you're still trying to catch up to 1 week's worth of, like 1 year's worth of sleep time, right? So that's sad. Then there's also the fact that you also want to disconnect. So this is your, like, you know, like, okay, you're home here, take the baby. I need my own space too.
Yes.
Right? That's the second part. And the third part too is that you know, there's that really critical point too where you also don't want to stray so far away. And how do you prevent that you get to a point where, you know, you have your significant other, you have your partner, your husband, your wife, or whomever, and you don't want to stray away from that journey separately. Meaning that, you know, you have your struggles, I have mine, deal with it your way, I'll deal with it my way. I think that's really what leads to I evolve into a different person, you evolve into a different person, and we don't get to know each other. We don't get to meet that other person. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you said it right. Like, that's what happens, especially in time. So this is a very crucial time. So in therapy, we call it the 7, you know, the 7 horses come, como that, like, it's like a critical time when you hit that 7 year. And this is where the intervention comes in. This is where, like, the extra planning comes in. This is being even more intentional. So even being more intentional, it's having not only the planning of the intimacy, but getting together in the planning of, like, short-term goals together, because you said, oh, we drifting apart little by little, because then you probably have interest and you're growing as people as well. Interest, challenge, and the new challenge that also the kids bring in that you never knew, that you weren't prepared, and things like that. Let me tell you, having kids, it's actually the 3rd cause of divorce. So if you can get through this stage, you guys are going to be way healthy, way ahead of the game, a healthy, strong relationship. And so, yes, not the drifting apart, it's the short-term goals and the long-term goal. You wouldn't be surprised how many couples come to my office and it's like they're a little bit older and like they never plan. And then what happens? One wants to go, let's say, back to their country for retirement, and the other wants to stay here. And it's like, that's the breakup, because they never actually built a life together. It was just, like I said, paying bills.
Yeah.
Now,
you know what? Well, sorry, one last thing. So my thing. So it's funny. We were having this conversation at work yesterday, and I'm not gonna mention their name because they'll probably kill me if I mention their name. But we were talking about this topic, and so she says to me, "Yeah, I know. they didn't get to that point. They didn't do it. And it's like, why? Because he yelled at the baby. Or at the kid.
He what?
He
yelled at the baby.
Oh,
he
okay,
yelled-
okay.
Well, it's not a
So
baby.
they
She's
didn't.
like
Okay,
10
they
years
didn't
old.
get. Okay.
And in other words, she doesn't like the way he parented.
Okay.
Right? So then that shut her off
And
because
that's-
females are not. Well, I think everyone is emotionally tied to.
And then that's actually my next question. How do we separate being parents and being a couple?
Yeah, I know. It's an interesting dynamic, but knowing your parenting style, like some parents are more dictatorship and some other parents are democratic. So at least if you know, like, okay, that's just his parenting style, then at least you know where he's coming from. And then realize that at the end of the day, both of you want the same thing for the kids. So it's like the same. You both want them to be happy, healthy, growing, and having everything that they need. So where's the difference? It's in the way you see things, in the way you see things. So giving each other a little bit of that space will help, like that understanding that at the end, we both want the same thing. And then from there, say, okay, why don't you be in charge of one area? That way, you're like the boss. You're the CEO of, like, for example, school. Like, all it has to do with school, you take care of it, you manage it, because I know that at the end you want you want them to do well. And the other one takes charge of, like, let's say the medical, the health, the food, things like that. That way you're the boss. Like, so whatever you decide, then that in your area, you're not crashing all the time and having to make a meeting all the time about minutia that are going to pass away because, kids grow and then there's a new issue coming every year.
And then, well, following up to that, so I always hear this: kids are gonna grow, they're gonna move on, and you're gonna eventually stay. Hopefully, right?
Yes.
That's the idea, we're gonna
If
grow
you survived
together,
it.
right? And then you're gonna stay by yourself again
Yeah.
because your kids are gonna move on. But then, going back, how do we prevent being parents not getting into the way of limiting us with our sexual drive or sexual behavior or intimacy? As in, when do we draw the line? No, I have to take care of my husband, he has to take care of me, because otherwise they're gonna end up looking for somebody else, right?
Absolutely, a delicate balance. And that's where we talk about, number one, the planning. We're talking about dividing the roles so that there's no miscommunication, and then that healthy communication, that as long as you know the other person is coming from the right place. For example, the intimacy. So let's say you're tired and you say no.
I'm I am tired.
He always says,
well, we have to check if it's, because that's the thing. There's also in sex, there's also like who has a bigger appetite too. So it's not just the kids; it's like the appetite
That's
too.
a very good point, and I'm so glad that, and I'm so happy that you brought that up. And
We're really opening up
you know what?
here.
And I struggle with that because I do believe, not that I believe, I've become more aware that there are people who have
Yes,
much
they
more of
do.
a sexual appetite. They don't,
Yeah, appetite,
and
like
some
just
people,
for food.
And for like for me personally, for many, I thought maybe I'm just crazy, and or maybe you're just something's wrong with your hormones. I don't know. Like anyway, testosterone.
Yeah,
and I used to say maybe you should go get checked.
And
I
number
don't know.
two, I actually went to my doctor to get checked. Everything is perfectly fine.
see.
I'm just tired.
Yeah, it could be-
I'm always out working. I work covering the news. When I get home, it's like we have to deal with the kids. So we have to plan it. Like we do have to put it in the schedule.
All right.
I mean,
So
we're doing
let's
good.
let's do something with this.
What are we gonna do?
We could, there's another strategy besides the planning. All right, why don't we have some more variety? For example, okay,
mean spice it up?
allow yourselves this, like, let's add 4 more. Like, allow yourself to have, like, in your rhythm, in your dynamic, allow yourself and permission to, like, the quick. So the quick is like, it's okay, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, not gonna kill you. Elias said,
There's
right?
no
So
such
you
thing
know
as
what I
quick
mean?
here.
So, it's almost like if you put it in like appetite, it's like, okay, I could have a quick sandwich in the meantime, and it's just to, at least it helps. Then
Those quickies turn long.
then maybe once a month have the one, like the gourmet. When you plan to be in a nice restaurant, like you just plan like all day, you wear something special like gourmet. And that way it feeds. So for example, because Eric wants it, but if you cannot do it, but if you have to have the gourmet soon coming up, it helps you. It's like, okay, you know what? I
Like
can.
working up to it.
It's working up to it.
appetizer.
Exactly. Right. And then you could have the regular. So there's 4.
Okay.
And also there is maybe the adventure. Like maybe we could just do it like, I don't know, somewhere that is, excited or
gonna
something.
ask you, like,
right? I mean,
spice it up,
so
right?
spice it up. You
Maybe
have
in the
those,
Bronx, right?
you have those 4 ones to play with. Like you have those. So that way it doesn't become boring. And that way you kind of like always expecting which one, how we're going to do it this one, how is it going to happen? And at the end of the month, you have all these variety. Like, oh, remember when we did it here? Remember when we did the gourmet? Remember when we did the quickie? You know what I mean? So that's going to help alleviate both appetite style. You know what I mean? That way, because if you have variety, it's like, okay, sometimes I could be satisfied in this style that I like, and sometimes Eric can be satisfied.
But and I like that. But you know what I hear a lot and talking to other parents, and I see it. I don't want to do things because there's a quota that has to be met. I hear that from parents. So just I don't want to do it because I have to do it 3 or 4 times with my significant other a week, let's say, or I have to do it 2 times a week. Is there such thing as a number? What's an okay
healthy
number?
What's considered healthy?
How many times a week should you be having sex? That's the question.
What's considered
So
healthy?
in study, we do have to kind of have a number to help people lead, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to personality. It really comes down to appetite and dynamics and all of that. So the healthy number that we had worked, it's 2 a week to keep it. Yeah, 2 a week. Is the average. See, this is where I get into trouble. Is the average, but around it. But at least that throughout the month, we just don't want to be missing it too much, because if we miss it too much, it becomes like part of the personality. So the rhythms drops.
And
it's almost like you guys are dancing, merengue, right, or reggaeton, and now it's down to bolero. You know what I mean? And then for some couples begin to normalize it, and then to get you out of there, that's where it becomes difficult. So don't let it drop, the rhythm drop. Keep it going.
And I think
Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does.
And I think it's important too, and it's what I've said before to you when I advise. I think it's important that there are times where you can't excuse yourself from certain things, because it's not always there's the average and there's blips, right? Like in our case, in other couples' cases, you had a baby, don't expect anything. You had surgery, don't expect anything. There's different stressors. There's things happening. It's the holidays. There's family over. It's like there's times in between that you can excuse yourself. It's fine. And that's okay. But there should still be somewhat of a standard, because I think in relationships, this is what I try to explain to them too. There should be some maintenance too. Same way you have maintenance with your kids.
That's a good word.
With your home, you still have to maintain certain things, because if you don't, it will go to shit, number one.
Sí. Ahí es que se pierde el balance. You lose the balance.
Y si se descuida.
And there are others that are comiéndole el oído, like we said.
Pero
They come in el oído and you're like, oh, you think it's better on the other side, but then you get to the other side.
That's not what I'm saying.
I mean,
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, I'm not saying you're susceptible, more vulnerable, but I'm saying que las cosas no se pueden tampoco descuidar.
Sí. But Elisa, to your concern that you're saying, you know what, I'm tired. I'm going to be honest, I'm tired. It could also be not only just your appetite, that could be something to check on, but another thing could be maybe the way you get turned on too. Like maybe some people get turned on like body first. You know what I mean? Like you have to, but sometimes listen to this. Listen to this. You know how sometimes there's food, you're not hungry, but you just smell it and it's like, I'm just gonna have it. You know what I mean? So maybe instead of going from the mind like I'm tired, maybe allow yourself to taste a little bit, like to just get into it, not with any big expectation, but like kind of like, when you smell the food, like get into it, and then sometimes the appetites will come. Sometimes you don't have it, right? But if you just let Eric do his thing and everything, maybe then the appetite will come. Just like food. Like sometimes you're just like, I don't want to eat. I'm really not hungry. And then you see it and then you want it. You know what I mean? So it could be that part, how you turn on. So maybe it's a time to discover that part, and maybe it's a click that you turn on differently, not maybe just first with your mind or your body, because some people start with their body, like they need to have the appetite, or some people with their mind, like preparing it, having it, having already thoughts about it. What do you think?
You bring up a very good point, and I'm not speaking specific to like our relationship. I can speak to, I think it's something that happens it does happen to you too, but I see this even chatting with friends and so on.
Yes.
And I get criticized on this all the time in a positive way.
Yeah,
And it's
tell
kind of
me.
like, how can you switch from one thing to the next?
It's-
And it's true for, since I was a kid, I can, I know where to put things, like I left work, that's work.
Yes.
I'm home. Social, that's social. And I think sexually, and when it comes to balancing life, most people don't have that that emotional intelligence. They don't have that overall sense that you don't carry things with you to your home, to the bedroom, and to everything else. And I think that it does kind of diminish and tarnish your libido and everything else, because if mentally you're preoccupied, if you're thinking of like, oh, I didn't get that promotion, like, oh, that lady's prettier than me, like, or oh, this happened. It's like you can't perform in other sections. Like, I'm gonna give you an example. Like, if you're a mother or a friend, as a mother, right? You're like a mother, and you want to do your homework with your child, but you're thinking about something else because like, but esa me dijo eso, and I'm like, I still can't get over that. I see, but you can't be in the moment. They're present. Yes. For me personally, I can be present in every single moment because you know what? That goes to side. If you tell me we're gonna have sex right now, close. We're here now. I'm ready.
But that works for
I'm
them.
ready, willing, and able.
Some other people,
but some people can't do that. So how do
Definitely.
you
I don't wanna be
navigate
attached,
That's a
right?
good
those
point.
troubled waters? I'm asking for friends,
See.
not for myself.
You
'Cause
know,
I'm good at it.
No,
but I'm
that's a
asking for
huge
friends.
topic, and that's so helpful because some people have, let's say, the drawer's brain. Like they can close a drawer, right? Open up another one. So this is the drawer of sex. I open it up, close it. This is the drawer of work. Open, But some other people have it like these wires here, like all wired up. So you need to learn to disconnect each wire in order to be able to be present for sex. So right, it's knowing yourself first, and then if you have that, then maybe what you need is an extra, or the audience, they need just give themselves, acknowledge and give themselves that extra time and know like, this is what's happening. How can I start? Let me start disconnecting from all of this, so that when it's time to be present for my partner, then I could just be there with my whole body as well. But you know what? But also allow yourself to enter into the activity of sex and everything, because then in it you disconnect. You actually it's a disconnecting experience as well.
You know,
yes.
I want to try something. I want to get some outside thing. I think this would be very good because you have two.
What are you going to try? Are you getting things from outside?
No, you have two. I want to hear from a heterosexual male.
Okay.
See?
And see, as far as like within sex and heterosexual relationships, what? You know what? Hold on. Wait. Let's grab a mic. Which one can we grab? Hold on. I want to hear a challenge or something from him, or a question that he might have, because as you guys know, well, you guys don't know, but someone might be married soon. And
Our producer Wilmer
is engaged.
All right,
He might benefit from some of this advice too.
No, this is a very good topic.
I know it's an interesting topip for him too.
Oh yeah. No, but like you, I am like you. I can turn off, and I can turn on other things at will, as you may say. But what is the question that you have for?
No. I want to know what questions might you have. Any challenges that you might present from a heterosexual standpoint?
Well, funny enough, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, sex I believe, is very universal. So, I think the questions are the same. And I think like, like those scenarios that you guys have brought up is pretty much the same. Sometimes we're just tired. Sometimes we have too much libido. But, in the end, it all comes to the same thing. Sex is universal, I think, and all the questions that I might have are being answered. And
so then this is just basically showing that it doesn't matter whether it's from a heterosexual standpoint or a homosexual standpoint. In this case, two parents, two dads.
Yeah,
I guess it's a common thing.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. Especially with kids. Yeah, it's the same.
To sum it up, life happens.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you added the kids into the mixture, because that's also a form of love. Like if you saying, oh, I'm busy, I have to do all these things for the kids. But you know what? Having sex with your partner is also doing it for the kids, because that's just going to strengthen the relationship. And that's another way of communication. Don't you understand each other better after sex? Like, tell me about that again, right? It sounds different. And so sometimes we say like, no, we need to have the talk first before having sex, because this needs to be results, but it could be the other way around. Try having the sex first, and then in that moment of vulnerability and pleasure and joy, having the same conversation, and you'll see you're gonna get different results. So sex is an aid actually to solve the problems, because both of you are more connected, more in tune to each other's needs. So you are more able to compromise, to listen, and to even give up. All right, just do it. Buy the thing, go sign up the thing,
And what could be some things that impact in a negative way the sexual relationship of parents? For example, let's say with kids, right? One of the most common things is your child coming in the middle of the night into your bed right before you're about to do it.
Sí.
I need to.
They have perfect timing.
Or what do you do? I mean, you cannot say no. Don't come into the room.
I know, but that's why you have to have the different varieties, so that if for some happen you could not avoid it, then you have other you have other chances. That's it. You have to have all these other ways, because if it happens and you cannot take the kid out, or the kid is sick, and all these things continue to happen that you cannot control. This is the thing. You cannot control what the kids are going to do, their development, and all their needs and challenges. But you can control those moments that you set apart for each other to nourish and to love each other.
And what about spicing it up? Not looking for outside things, but I'm saying
You keep talking about that outside thing. What do you mean by that? Is that a big concern? Let's bring it out. Let's bring it out. No, because jealousy could also be a deterrent too. Like if it's in your mind too much, it might not let you allow to enjoy what you.
So
I don't know.
I'm not a.
I don't mean to.
I'm not a. I wouldn't say
you.
it's jealousy, right? But obviously when there's a sense of there's people from the outside that want to kind of penetrate into your relationship. I'm like, I want to have what you have, or I want to be part of that, or I want to be in your position, or oh man, I wish that was me, and stuff like that. How can that, those external factors, how do you take that external noise from not coming into your relationship?
That's very important. So it might be that the distraction is not just the kids. It could be too much of a social life at this period of your life where you have less time and less, energy to spend with friends. So maybe it was at that transition from where you guys didn't have any kids and were very popular, outgoing, and then maybe it's transitioning into, this is a committed time to this. And we don't have much time for any other people, and we need to then be more with each other. You know what I mean? So maybe that's the talk right there. That could be the communication point of maybe how can we then cut out some of the outside external distractions, maybe, tone it down in that way, so that we can have more Saturdays, more Sundays, or more evenings where we can have more opportunities to have sex and intimacy.
Yeah,
is that a thing?
No. I tell so I'll give you some more context.
Okay.
To make more clear. So after the baby was born, right, we went through this period where this has become a public service announcement.
Okay.
Where we got fat.
We got what?
We got fat.
No.
Okay. Put on a little bit of weight.
Put on a little weight.
We gained weight.
We couldn't sleep well.
Welcome to parenting.
Yes.
Welcome to parenting.
So, historically, of course, people are, just in the gay world, this is how it works. People send you messages, people te halagan, te dicen cosas, whatever, and so on. From my standpoint, the person that I heard it from the most saying that you're out of shape was
Okay.
this one here. Anywho, I will tell you this.
I guess I'm going to take the blame, right?
No, he was the one to blame. Now, when I started going back to the gym and started working on myself, wasn't because he told me.
You see.
Although that it did push me there, it was more so for myself.
See.
Because I felt like I had to give myself boundaries, as my therapist would say. And also work on myself again to regain my self-confidence.
It helps for
Right?
parenting.
Nothing to do with anyone else.
See.
Now, I think recently I've become a little too overly confident.
Exactly.
Let me explain. Let me
Las cucarachas le están comiendo el oído. I call it
Let me explain.
This is
Let
my
me
time.
explain.
Las
Let me
cucarachas
finish.
le están
Let me
comiendo el oído. So what does that mean? It means that he's now getting these messages from
Sí.
everybody.
Let me explain.
One on social media.
No,
This and
let me
that. And I'm like,
explain.
I I think he likes it a little too much.
Okay.
No.
I mean,
let me explain.
he's not going to respond to those messages.
No, I don't.
He
I
gets
don't pay attention.
entertained by
No,
those.
I don't. No, let me explain.
Cucarachas, coja su puesto.
Let me explain. The self-confidence came from, you know what? At this point, and I'm going to tell you exactly what was told to me. You need to set boundaries with yourself
Okay.
and with others, and create that time for yourself. And if you're going to go dedicate it for yourself and work on your own identity, and doing that for you, and that's exactly what I'm doing. That's
Okay.
all that is.
Okay.
And so I have also created boundaries with someone here.
Okay.
That's all that is.
Okay.
So what the effects? That's what he feels.
So then that's what I'm saying. So look at this, right? How does that affect the sexual relationship of a couple when someone takes it to a little to the extreme, to the point that you feel not that you're in a competition among each other,
Sí.
but perhaps that someone is feeling a little more confident than the other one?
See,
And that could be like, oh, okay, so you're there, but I'm not type of thing.
you see the word you use, extreme. So maybe he just need a little bit of time to find that balance. Like he found this new way, this new tool, this new self-development, and it's kind of working for him, but it might be too much. So he needs that balance. And like, how can he brings it in? Because it's a new thing, a new development, a new growth for him that you're not used to. And then it's like, it's not clicking into the relationship. So now he needs to find a way to adapt it into the relationship where it doesn't affect you. But at least you guys are clear. And you know what? At least you guys are having the conversation. Many
Yeah.
couples, they drift apart. They just put things under the rug. They don't talk about it. You continue to confront it. It's better to be angry at each other than like to be like disconnected. Like,
be
I don't
angry.
care. That's healthy.
We came to the agreement that he was the problem.
Let me no. So it's better
did not agree to
to
that.
be it's better to bring things up and be healthy, and even in it like that and argue it. It's better an argument than ignorarte, disconnect, and like I don't even care anymore. No, I don't feel nothing. So as long as you guys are feeling it's okay, it brings up the conversation, and now it's like let's adapt it to my needs and your needs so that we can move forward. So maybe that's a stage where you are like, we're bringing up our needs. How can we find this new balance in this new stage that we're living?
Now, I will tell you full disclosure though, because it's really funny.
Yes.
I apply that to the kids too. It's like in the morning when our son wakes up, like, no, you're not going to mess up my happy place right now.
Okay.
So we'll deal with this later.
Yeah.
You can go back to your place and we can try this again in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Then he goes to his room and then he gets annoyed too, like him too. He's like, okay, now can we do this again? I'm like, okay, fine. If you're in a better spirit, then I'm in a better spirit.
Well, they just summarize it a little bit then. So the whole keeping your sexual life active while having kids. In this case, we have a 15-month-old baby and Ethan's going to be 6 just in a couple of weeks. So how do we just stay active and at the same time not turning into that roommate stage, right? We don't want to forget about being a couple.
We'll not be
We still
neglectful
wanna
of our
be
relationship.
good parents, but also we want to take care of our needs, right?
See. So number one, understand that it's gonna pass this stage. Number two, understand that it might need more intentionality and more planning just because there's so much other things going on. And then third, spice it up with different like variety, like allow yourself to do it in different ways and in different forms so that each one of you can be satisfied and each one of you can fulfill your sexual needs and also emotional needs as well.
What about bringing toys? I don't like toys.
You don't
I'm gonna say right here, I'm not into the whole toys
Okay.
thing. If someone is,
Okay.
good for you. I'm actually very shy when it comes to that.
Okay, that's very strange. And how about you, Eric? Do you like it? Do you like it because it could be
Well, we
a
don't use it.
compromise? How about?
We
But
don't
it's
use
a
it
be
here.
a it could be a
No,
compromise.
you know what? I checked out a long time ago.
Okay. You did- well, whatever works. I mean,
said, you know what? Whenever you're ready, you just get back to me.
okay. So how about trying different ones? Like let's say maybe a level 1, like light one,
Oh, there are
maybe a
levels
nice.
of
There's
toys?
levels.
Oh,
That,
this is
yeah,
another conversation. All right,
That's
Judy,
another-
we're definitely going to have to bring you back here to talk about the levels of toys to make sure that relationship is happy. Thank you so much for being here. You guys at home, if you're listening to us while you're driving, make sure you subscribe to this podcast on YouTube. Follow us on Daddy's on Duty, Eric Martinez, Eliezer Marte, your social media, Judy.
Judy said.
All right.
Judy said.
Make sure to create boundaries for yourself.
Also, we want to hear from you. How are you dealing with this? If you're a new parent, how are you having an active sexual relationship, not falling into that roommate stage, but at the same time making sure that your kids are taken care of. We definitely want to hear from you. Do you make an appointment to have sex? Hit us up on Instagram. No DMs unless it's on Daddy's on Duties. Daddy's on Duty.
Bye, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye.